For 12 years, Martin Pistorius says he was trapped inside his own body. He suffered from an illness no one could explain, and doctors said he was in some sort of vegetative state. What no one realized was that for most of those 12 long years, Martin was fully conscious.
You can hear, see, and understand everything around you. For me, that feeling of complete and utter powerlessness is probably the worst feeling I have ever experienced.
Growing up in South Africa, Martin was a happy and healthy child. But in January of 1988, when he was 12 years old, he came home from school complaining of a sore throat.
At first, the doctors thought I had flu and prescribed the usual treatment. However, my condition steadily got worse and I was hospitalized.
Doctors performed test after test on Martin and treated him for tuberculosis and something called cryptococcal meningitis, but they never made an official diagnosis. They just didn't know.
My body weakened and I lost the ability to speak and control my movements.
Doctors thought he'd fallen into a vegetative state where he couldn't see or hear anything around him. They didn't know how to cure it, and they gave him 2 years to live.
The doctors said to take me home and wait for me to die.
Every morning, Martin's father would wake him up, bathe him, feed him, and take him to a care center, never knowing his son was actually aware of everything that was happening to him. I want to read something that you wrote in the book. You wrote, "Have you ever seen one of those movies in which someone wakes up as a ghost, but they don't know they've died? That's how it was, as I realized people were looking through and around me, and I didn't understand why." Just how did you cope? I mean, feeling like you're invisible, how did you cope all those years?
Mostly through escaping into my mind. I'd imagine all sorts of things, like being very small and climbing into a spaceship and flying away. Or that my wheelchair would magically transform into a flying vehicle a la James Bond, with rockets and missiles. I would sometimes watch things move, whether it be how sunlight moved throughout the day, or watching insects of some sort scurry about.
He says he was abused at some of the care centers he was brought to over the years. But one of the things that upset him the most was being placed in front of a television for hours at a time with nothing else to watch but Barney.
I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
I often spent my days positioned in front of the TV. To this day I hate Barney. Not that I have anything against Barney, but it triggers memories and emotions which are really difficult for me.
You write about your mom as well, and a time when your mom, in the midst of distress, said that essentially she wished you would die. And when I read that, I just kept thinking about, for you, hearing that. You did hear it, you did understand what she had said. How did you deal with that?
For her, it was like her son died when he was 12. So while I was very sad and upset by what she said, I understood where that was coming from.
Were there times when you actually wanted to die? I mean, not being able to communicate, trapped in your body and trapped with your thoughts constantly like that. You wrote that there was a time you actually wanted to die.
Yes, in some of the darkest moments, I not only wanted to die, but I longed for death to realize me. I also often felt everyone would be better off if I were dead.
One of his nurses came to believe that Martin understood what she was saying to him, his nurse, Virna. She urged his parents to get him tested again.
She was the catalyst who changed everything, and had it not been for her, I'd probably either be dead or forgotten in a care home somewhere.
To his doctor's astonishment, Martin showed signs he could understand and slowly began to be able to communicate once again. What was that like?
I guess the best word would be relief, and also excitement, mixed in with a bit of trepidation. I remember leaving the assessment and feeling happy and just like, wow, but also thinking to myself, what's next?
Martin's physical health improved along with his ability to communicate. Now he's able to slowly type words into a computer that turn into speech, which is why we gave him some of our questions in advance. Martin went on to get a college degree. He now owns his website design business and even met and married a wonderful woman named Jonah. What do you think the connection for you was?
I think that initial connection was, first of all, I thought he was so attractive. But we...
He's blushing.
From the start, we were really honest with one another and really listened without any judgment, and therefore we could share our innermost feelings. We just understand one another.
And now we're talking about starting a family. That's something we're really excited about.
What happened to Martin is still a mystery, and while doctors say he won't be able to walk or talk again, he continues to grow stronger mentally and physically every day. For people who are watching this, what do you want them to take away from your story?
I think that there is always hope, no matter how small, and also to treat everyone with kindness, dignity, compassion and respect, whether you think they understand or not. To never underestimate the power of the mind, the importance of love and faith, and to never stop dreaming.